Hey guys, Will here. Welcome back to the channel. So we're back in the cabin today of the triple 65-inch 4K motion simulator. We're going to be doing something a little bit differently though, because the Reverb G2, the HP Reverb G2 headset has just arrived today, and I wanted to do a bit of a first driving experience with this headset. One of the questions that's come out of our first driving experience video that we did the other day with the triple 65 system is a lot of people were asking, why don't you just get VR? And as you can see from this footage, this is extremely immersive from the perspective of a content creation point of view. So, in terms of what it can create, what we can create for you guys to watch. But in terms of the driving experience, one of the things I was actually really surprised by as we pull into the pits here was just how immersive this is and how it really sort of pulls you into the scene and really kind of gets everything going. So what I thought we'd do today is take a first drive with the Reverb G2. Now this is the most high-end, it's got a bit of hair on there, one of the most high-end, or the most high-end VR headset that I've ever driven with. Actually, my only experience previously is with the G1, and I've been really impressed with it. So let me just get my headset off here quickly as well. And look, one of the things that you guys have probably noticed on the channel, for those of you who've been watching for a while now, is I don't do a whole lot of content driving with my G1. And a lot of you have jumped to the conclusion that I don't like VR because I don't do a whole lot of content around it. Now, the main reason why I don't do a lot of VR content is simply because I find that when I do it, people generally find it difficult to watch, particularly with the motion platform running as well. Things are moving around and it can be quite shaky and jumpy to watch. And obviously watching through a window on YouTube on a two-dimensional screen is not going to give the same experience as you get wearing an actual VR headset with stereoscopic 3D. Now, on paper, it doesn't necessarily seem like the G2 is a massive upgrade over the G1. It's the same resolution, the same field of view, and it doesn't seem like all that big of a jump up. But some of the things that were a bit problematic with the G1 are things that they've improved with the G2. So we now have better quality audio, better quality positioning as well. You can see there's now 4 cameras around the outside instead of just the 2 that we had before. One of the really big things is that we do now have IPD adjustment too. So we can now adjust the lenses to suit the distance between our pupils, which is obviously really important, and I have no idea why I'm still wearing gloves. So what I'm going to be doing today is taking you along for my first drive with the G2, seeing whether I think it's a big step up from the G1, and just giving you my overall first impressions. We'll obviously be doing a follow-up review, a more detailed review in the coming weeks as well. But for now, let's just go for a drive and see what it's like. All right, so one thing that I like before I even put this on is the fact that it can hinge all the way up, so I can actually hold it to my head and make quick little adjustments on the fly if I need to, just kind of hold it up, do something, and then take it off again without having to sort of pull the whole thing on my head every time. That was something that frustrated me about the G1. But let's get this on now. Loosen off the strap. My head, latch it down, get those ear cups flicked up as well, and might just, what's going on with this cable as well, just loosen that off. Making a mess of this. There we go. That'll sit tidy now. Okay. On my head. Loosen the strap off here. Get that nice and tight. Actually feels like it might be a more comfortable fit than the other one was as well. Yeah, that's definitely, I like the way the wraparound strap, the old one had that kind of circle thing on the back, and this is a lot more comfortable straight away. And the ear, I like how the ear cups are kind of, or the speakers are kind of sitting off my ears as well. It kind of, not having that extra point of contact gives you a little bit more sense of freedom, I think, maybe. But anyway, what you guys are interested in is the picture quality here, and I can tell you straight away that looks a lot sharper than it did previously. And it's funny because the pixel density is the same. Like, I can still see that ever so slight screen door effect. You can see the individual pixels. And like, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, no, you can't, but you can. Like, it's not, the resolution isn't like real life, but it is very, very, very sharp, and it's certainly not screen door effect to the point where it's going to bother you, I don't think. But yeah, what I'd say is it's not enough to be like something that's going to constantly make you feel like you're playing a game. I think you'll get it. It's good enough that you'll get immersed into the game and you'll forget about it, but it is there if you pay attention to it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I mean, I think that the main thing that I'm noticing that's just way different from the G1, and something that I'm actually quite shocked by, is just the overall sharpness throughout the entire field of view is so much better than it was with the G1. You had a really small sweet spot with the G1 where you kind of had to, you know, be looking, and you kind of couldn't look around the screen with your eyes. You had to kind of turn your head, because as soon as you looked outside of the sweet spot, everything just kind of went blurry and the colors started to separate. Whereas this is, it's not perfect. Like if I look around, I do get a little bit of distortion, but it's a lot better than it was previously. And even just like looking at that house off into the distance there as well, the detail in the grandstand, so much better. But anyway, let's, I'll get my gloves on quickly. Where do I put my gloves? There they are. Let's go for a drive, I think. I'm excited now. I was so worried that after all the hype, it would just be the same, but no, it's definitely not. There's definitely, and I want to be careful because I don't want everybody that has a G1 to just rush out and buy a G2 on my recommendation and then, you know, feel like it's not that different. But for me, at least, it is. And I should play with the IPD adjustment as well, shouldn't I? So actually, it was pretty close to what it needed to be. I can see there on the screen. I don't know if you guys can see that. 63.7 is my IPD. So that looks really good. But I can, if I adjust that, yeah, it definitely does make a difference. So on the G1, you only had the soft adjustment. And to be honest with you guys, I never actually saw a difference making adjustments with that. But with this, oh, I need to recenter my screen here. There we go. That seemed to latch on really quickly too. I haven't had a single issue with glitching tracking or anything like that. Not that I only ever really had a problem twice that I can recall with the old headset, where I was in the middle of a race and it would suddenly just jump off or something, but it can be race destroying when that happens. So obviously it's not something that I want to comment on too much in an initial impressions video, because it may happen into the future, but as we test this more and more, I'll obviously let you guys know if it does prove to be an issue. But another thing I'm noticing as well is the color reproduction seems to be a little bit more natural than it was with the previous model. And I don't know whether, I actually did have a couple of G1s, so, and they were both consistent between the two. So I don't know whether it's just manufacturing variants, or the two panels on either eye are exactly the same as each other too. So I wouldn't imagine it would be. I don't know whether they're the same actual panels, and these are all things that we'll research properly before we do the actual review, but the colors just seem a little bit more neutral and a little bit more natural looking than on the G1. And I did go for a drive with the G1 right before jumping in this one, just to sort of reacclimatize myself. But yeah, the sweet spot is just so much better with this one. I can see, and again, I don't want to comment too much before I've gone for a long drive, but I can see myself being able to drive with this for much longer periods of time than I could. Whoa! Much longer period, as I was saying, much longer periods of time than I could with the G1. 45 minutes was about my limit with that headset. After 45 minutes, I was really starting to struggle. Why does that keep happening? What's going on there? Well, that was all about. The Windows overlay just popped up on me. Probably a setting or something I've got set wrong. Anyway, let's catch up again. I'm sure that's just a setting somewhere that I haven't adjusted yet. But yeah, 45 minutes was about my limit before I couldn't drive in VR. And that's part of the reason why I didn't do a whole lot of content creation as well, is because, you know, it's not very comfortable to be driving with eye strain, and then if you're having to do multiple takes as well, really not comfortable. With this, I feel like is a lot easier on the eyes because you're not having to strain to see outside of the sweet spot as much. I'm guessing that's what it's down to. Just the general sharpness means you're not straining your eyes as much. But yeah, I mean, so far I'm feeling absolutely no strain whatsoever. It's completely comfortable. And, you know, while we're talking about comfort as well, the headset is definitely more comfortable than the previous one was too. I really love the feeling of the fabric up against my face rather than the leather that we had with the Pro model. Now, obviously it means it's less cleanable. Like, it is going to be absorbent and it is porous, so
it will probably start to stink after a while. We want to be able to wash it, but it is replaceable as well. That whole front section comes off, and again, we'll look at that in more detail when we do a proper review. Try and catch this next back here. But no, just the sharpness, and I mean, even just little things like being able to read the text on the relative box down there and everything, just it's so much more comfortable. I don't have to turn my head unrealistically large amounts to read what I'm trying to see. I can just kind of glance at it without taking my eyes off the road so substantially. So yeah, I'm gonna say that it's a worthwhile upgrade. Like, it's not an essential upgrade. I wouldn't say that I couldn't go back to a G1, but it's definitely enough. I feel like if you can sell your G1 for a decent price and pick this up, given that, you know, at the time of making this video, at least, they're actually quite closely matched in price, I think, as well. Last time I looked, they were even selling them for the same price. But yeah, I mean, if you can get a decent price for your G1, I would say definitely pick this up. It's definitely an improvement. And as I said at the start of the video, I haven't tried any other headsets, and I mean, it would be nice to have a slightly larger field of view, but I feel like the fact that they haven't increased the resolution, but they've been able to increase the clarity this much, that's fantastic, because it means that you're not having any additional load on the PC. Like, it's not more taxing on your system than the G1 was, because the resolution is still the same, but the clarity is so much better that you're getting all that benefit without taking a performance hit, which I think is a real smart move when you compare to, and again, I haven't driven with these, so I got to be careful what I say, but compared to something like a Pimax 8K, I mean, you really have to have an absolutely baller system to be able to run that at any decent sort of graphics settings, from what I've heard. And while I'm sure that field of view is nice, I feel like this is giving me enough as well, and it feels kind of like wearing a helmet does. A little bit more restrictive, 114 degrees field of view, so it definitely feels more restricted than a helmet does, but it kind of gives that same sensation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, this is really, really nice. I might jump out of this car now, actually, and just do quickly a open wheel. I might give a Skip Barber a try, because I love the ability to sort of look down at the wheels and really spot the apexes in those open wheels. I think that's really where VR comes into its own for me. So let's quickly pull over here, and we'll jump into the Skippy. And so far, so good, guys. This is very, very impressive. All right, Skippy race. Man, it's been a long time since I've done a Skippy race in VR. Forgot how good this is. Yeah, that 1-to-1 ratio really does come into its own when you can kind of look up over the cabin, and no issues with tracking whatsoever. I've got a comment on that as well. The tracking definitely does seem to be... Oh, I need to use the right shifter, don't I? The tracking definitely does seem to be... Well, this is my first time driving with these pedals with a clutch, using a clutch. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I would say, you know, having that extra clarity is definitely increasing the immersion level for me to the point where I would almost say that I prefer this to the 6565s. I think, you know, obviously for content creation, the 6565s are awesome, but it's not something that I would go and recommend everybody do. I mean, obviously it costs an absolute fortune too, but this is absolutely fantastic. So the clarity, the detail that I'm seeing in the gearbox assembly, and, you know, the little external reservoir bottle that we can see there, and everything on the back of the Skippies there, just I'm seeing things that I couldn't see with the G1, and again, it's like, it's incredible when you think that it's the same resolution, the same pixel density, just the improved optics. And you can see a little bit of aliasing around the sides of the wheels there, just where you can see the rim of the wheel up against the tyre. A little bit of aliasing going on, which does take away a little from the immersion, and those are the kinds of things that, as resolution increases, those kinds of problems will go away. But you know, where we are at the moment with PC tech, I was really hoping that the 3080s and 3090s might kind of push us to the point where we could run 8K VR headsets with no issues with maximum graphics settings. But I feel like, you know, this kind of resolution at 2160 is still probably ideal, because, you know, with the latest generation 30 series graphics cards, you can crank the detail up higher. And we are still running a 2080 Ti at the moment, by the way. I'm waiting for my 3090 to arrive, but you can crank those graphics settings up without taking such a performance hit, which is going to be really great for people. And I think I'd rather have a little bit of extra detail than increased pixel density anyway. For me, like, I wouldn't want to sacrifice the detail for pixel density at this point, I don't think, because it's, you know, it's at the point where it's good enough that it's super immersive anyway. So let's try and overtake a couple of these guys. Stick it down the inside, there we go. I just realised I haven't got a button mapped for cleaning my, or tearing off my tear-offs. Whoop! Sent him off into oblivion. Oh god, big accident behind us now. Speaking of accidents, how about Grosjean? I cannot believe that he got out of that. That was just... I mean, I was watching it live, and I thought he was gone. Like, when I saw the fire and realised that he was in the fire, and it had been, like, you know, quite some time that he'd been in the fire, and saw that the fire marshals couldn't really get any closer to him than they already were, I thought that he was done for. My heart hasn't sunk like that since, obviously, Bianchi. Yeah, just absolutely incredible that he got out of it. Anyway, don't know if we're going to catch this lead pack, but we'll do one more lap here. But yeah, like, again, I'm completely comfortable. I've had the headset on for, you know, probably 15-20 minutes now, and I'm still feeling very comfortable with it. No problems at all with eye strain. And with the G1 by now, I would be starting to feel the effects, I think. So I definitely think that this is something that I could potentially wear for longer races without problems. And again, we'll talk about this when we do the full review, once I've had a chance to really get to know this thing. But all those little things that kind of just made me go, oh, I won't bother with the G1 from time to time. Like, you know, you kind of want to do a race in VR and you're like, oh, but it might suddenly lose tracking, or, you know, it's going to get hot and uncomfortable, or all those little things don't seem to be an issue so far. The tracking latches on immediately. Biggest problem now is just my lack of talent. Let him past and have a little bit of a look. Go on, go past me, go past me. I'm going to need to adjust my near clip plane setting, but just the detail you get in wheel-to-wheel action and just being able to react and look around you really is second to none, at least for the driver. Again, like I said, for content creation, I think triple screens are definitely still an advantage, but I think this may rekindle my love for VR. Getting the slipstream here. See if we can send him into oblivion. Let's have a big crash. This is AI, by the way. Whoa! Oof! Oh god! Jeez! Oh! Okay, I'm on the fence. I think we'll end it there. Wow. All right, guys. So yeah, it is an initial impressions video, and obviously we will come back and comment on things a lot more as we gain a bit more experience. But I've got to say, as an initial impression at least, this is definitely a significant improvement over the G1. And I'd say if you've got the money and you feel like you can sell your G1 for a decent amount, then this is definitely, you know, something that you will notice. It's a significant upgrade. We'll test it out with a bunch of other sims as well later on. We'll test it out with ACC2. Obviously, we don't expect to see any performance difference because the resolution is exactly the same. But yeah, the optics, the sound as well, just feeling that separation, not having, you know, contact on your ears, does give you more of a sense of freedom. And one thing, I can't remember if I commented in the video or not, but the cable is a lot more flexible than the cable on the G1 too, and that is noticeable. It doesn't make you feel so tethered when you're driving, and I think that's going to be very significant when you're playing open world VR too. I've actually never, in the year and a bit that I've had VR headsets, I've never actually done anything other than sim driving with them, and I feel like this might give me that little push to dedicate some time to try out some other things. I know, you know, Half-Life Alyx is around. There's a bunch of other ones as well. So definitely, at least for a first impression, highly recommend the G2. Yeah, I'll put some links down in the description below as well where you can pick these up. And yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. Make sure that you sub to the channel if you aren't already as well. We've got a bunch of content coming up, testing out the triple 65-inch 4K displays in various different sims. We've got the traction loss system going in, probably not this week, it'll probably be next week, I think, because poor Tom's off sick at the moment. But yeah, lots of things going on. Leave a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.